Hi. Have you ever hit a level of success that looked like freedom on paper and felt absolutely nothing? I used to think success would fix the restlessness I felt inside of me, but it didn't. I was meeting my goals, having incredible success, really, yet still waking up with that hollow feeling, is this all? Is this it? When I talk to women who've done a lot of inner work, this is one thing that shows up again and again. It's that uncomfortable pain of knowing you're meant for something more, but not knowing what that actually means. They say things like, I've built something I'm proud of, but it drains me. I feel like I'm acting out someone else's script. Hitting the next milestone didn't make the pressure go away, it made it worse. Or this one, on paper, I'm successful, but I'm still waking up at night with this nagging fear that I'm not doing the thing I'm actually meant to do. That's the moment that breaks my heart because I know that gap between satisfaction and the cold, empty feeling of living an inauthentic life is really painful and getting worse. It's not just tiredness from long hours. It's not even ordinary burnout. Call it soul fatigue, the moment your inner life has outgrown the role you've been playing in the world. Your work still works in the everyday sense. On paper, it all looks great, but your soul now needs a different form of expression in order to feel authentic and aligned with your truth and to grow into the fulfillment of your whole potential. I'm Erin Dragonsong. I'm known as the Fairy Godmother for your dreams, and I help heart-centered soulpreneurs or entrepreneurs clear the subconscious patterns that keep them stuck so they can finally build a thriving business as sacred as the mission in their heart. For years, I was doing everything right, listening to my audience and giving them what they seemed to most want, but it always felt like I was on the wrong track. It wasn't what felt alive for me. I wasn't really utilizing my personal genius and superpowers. And that's the kind of creative expression that the soul absolutely craves. In this video, I'll share what happened when I stopped trying to hold together what was working and started following that quiet, persistent call of what was next. You will learn how to tell when your soul mission is evolving, the hidden fears that keep so many purpose-driven women resisting that next step in their spiritual journey, and the simple practice that helped me to reconnect to my inner truth when I couldn't hear it anymore. So stay with me to the end because that's where I'll walk you through a reflective ritual you can use tonight to reconnect with what your soul is really asking for now. So my story begins in a season that looked perfectly fine on the outside. In case you don't know my background, I started out as a spiritual teacher. I'm the founder of Wicca Spirituality, a nature and goddess-based magical spiritual path that I called earth-based enlightenment. This all happened when it was doing really well. I had a lot of students in my spiritual development course, a solid six-figure income, and frankly, a tremendous worldwide following. And often people would say to me, "You've changed my life," or even, "You've saved my life." I told myself that all of that must prove I was on the right path. And yet, I was waking up almost every morning with this low-grade emptiness feeling inside of me. It almost felt like dread in my stomach. And I told myself it's just stress or overwork, or maybe I needed time off or a different offer or a new strategy that would streamline things. But deep down, I think I always suspected it was something else. For me, that tension finally broke the morning I sat down to plan the next launch of my year and a day program. I opened the computer, stared at the empty screen, blank screen, and felt nothing. It was like I couldn't even think. It was like someone had flipped a switch and my brain was turned off. No ideas, no inspiration. It was just like dead air and static. That was a real wake-up call for me because my work is all about sharing the divine insights coming through me and practices. And if the divine went silent, or if, truthfully, more accurately, if I could no longer hear it, not only did I not have anything to offer my students, my spiritual lifeline was severed. What would that mean to my spiritual path, my evolution? So I tried to push through, tried to force ideas to make something happen. Have you ever tried that? Like stubbornly driving in one direction when your soul is desperately trying to get you to go in another? Before we go any further, I just want to take a moment to let you know what's ahead in this video. I'm going to take you through the turning point that helped me rediscover my mission. We'll talk about the real difference between when you're off track or when you've simply outgrown who you used to be. And there's a big difference. And the subtle ways we resist our next calling without even realizing it. We're going to talk about why that uncomfortable in-between place that I call the pool of uncertainty is actually a sacred space of creation. I'll share a quick check you can do to discover the biggest subconscious block holding your mission back. And I'll give you a quick 3-point checklist to test whether what you're feeling is really burnout or your soul mission wanting to be born. At the end, I'll guide you through a simple but profound practice to help you hear your soul's voice accurately again, so you can begin living your mission as the truest expression of your spirituality. And just so you know, I have given this kind of practice before, but each time I do it, it's a different practice. It's a new one. So keep going, because one is going to work for you better than all the rest. So in my own example, staring at that computer screen, I finally got so tired and frustrated when no inspiration was coming through that I had to walk away from my desk to clear my head and clear my heart, since by this time I just wanted to cry. And I actually did cry. And it's like tears dripping down my cheeks. I just let the emotional energy move and dissolve, which cleared space in my brain and my heart for what wanted to come through instead of what I wanted the divine to give me. And that's when I realized the silence wasn't failure. It was an initiation. My soul and my work in the world, my service in the world was changing shape, and my business couldn't hold it anymore. It was my deeper self saying, stop trying to fill the space. You've lost your way. Let's find out what's actually true again. That was actually kind of an exciting moment. Like, what if that silence isn't the end of inspiration, but the beginning of your next initiation? So I did what I always do when I really need to reconnect. I packed up my notebook and my water and a serape for a blanket, and I headed to the beach for the day. Where I live, I pretty much have the whole space to myself, except for hot summer days. So it's just me and the rocks and the waves and the wildlife and the sky and, of course, the divine. I meditated, I thought, I dangled my feet in the chilly water, well, freezing cold water, and I simply watched nature's ongoing theater until, bit by bit, I regained my connection with my soul. And then I asked myself one simple question that changed everything. What does the divine want from me next? When I started listening for that guidance, what came through wasn't some big flashy thunderbolt. It was subtle fragments of noticing, small moments of resonance, like that conversation that left me buzzing, or the messages and practices that I've shared that people say really changed something in them, the times that I felt the greatest joy or the deepest fulfillment after an event I'd hosted. That's what we have to keep remembering about finding your soul mission, that it's a pattern of passion, an underlying truth that's actually been showing up the whole time. Simply put, your soul mission is the repeating pattern of passions and problems you're naturally drawn to solve, that light you up and that call you irresistibly to act. And it's talking to you all the time in the deepest feelings of your heart. I'd started out following my own North Star. Wicca spirituality was born of my own spiritual searching and divine insights, my passion to meld the greatest spiritual awareness with respect for the earth and the sacredness of being embodied. I wanted to help people who were in advanced spiritual and perhaps magical study to bring that awareness into their daily lives and make life itself their spiritual practice. Over time, though, I kind of got lost in following all the coaches and the cookie cutter strategies and creating the offers that the market was asking for, but not with what my soul was aligned with. I'd lost that connection with my inner compass. I was winning the game. The only problem was I was playing the wrong game. And I knew that I needed to reorient. And once I realized that, I stopped trying to push through. Instead, I just began asking myself these different questions. Here are the questions that you can ask. What if my body is right? That is, what if this resistance is wisdom, not weakness? That's one of the questions I highly recommend, because that was a really radical shift for me. It was terrifying. I mean, here I'd built up this world-class business on spirituality that I actually loved, but now I was thinking I needed to start over and scrap it all. So I was sitting there with the uncomfortable truth that what used to work for me, what used to light me up, now felt like nothing more than obligation and the wrong path. And I'd spent decades helping people connect with nature and the divine and their own magic. And I honestly loved those sparks that would light up in people's eyes when they touched the mystery of life and it hugged them back. But something in me wanted to go deeper, wanted to go bigger. There was this feeling of discomfort and dissatisfaction that was growing and growing and growing. It wasn't that what I was doing was wrong. It was that my soul was yearning for a new level of expression. The living of spirituality more into the conversation. And here's where it got confusing. Like, everything in my life was still working. Students were signing up. My income was steady. The community loved what I was offering. But inside myself, I could feel that aching, relentless call, pushing me to something new. And it felt like my mission was ending. And that was an awful and scary feeling. But it wasn't. It was evolving. Your mission will never end as long as you're on this planet. And I think that's the part no one tells you about soul missions. They don't end. They evolve, though, and we have to keep growing with them. Because if we try to stay in the old form, because we like it, it's comfortable, it's proven, it's safe, whatever, the energy starts to leak out. And it gets harder and harder and harder to keep going. And sooner or later, your bottom line reflects that energy loss. That happened with me too, because I was refusing the call, trying to stay stuck in the old path, and it was starting to die right under my feet. The clients started coming less frequently. The money started kind of drying up. The opportunities started to fade away. That's when my soul fatigue, when I really realized that what was going on was that soul fatigue, not because, it's not happening because you're lost or you're lazy or you're burnt out. It's because your work has stopped being a true vessel for you and your growth. And you're being called for something higher. When I finally stopped fighting the truth that I needed to change direction, there was like a mix of something like joy, excitement, eagerness, and a hefty dollop of fear blossomed in me. That's actually a good sign. I was being invited to create greater alignment between my soul and my business, my work in the world. That's when the idea for this next evolution started to form in me, helping heart-centered women do the same thing, launch their soul mission. As I had been so successful with mine, with Wicca spirituality for so long, I wanted to help others launch their soul mission so that their business becomes their greatest spiritual practice, and that it thrives and serves them, their life, their loved ones, the world, everyone. I want to help people follow the call of their soul. That's really what it's always been about. So if you've been thinking you're just burnt out, maybe check again. Could that be a persistent tug from your soul that this version of your work no longer fits and needs to evolve? Here's a quick test. 1, burnout is depletion. You feel flattened. You need rest and rejuvenation. Is that what you're feeling? The second point, the second test, soul evolution is restlessness. You want to move. You want to move into a new shape and act in a new way, and rest won't fix that itch. The third point is, if what used to light you up now feels more like a cage, and a new risky idea excites you even when you're exhausted, that's not burnout. That's an invitation. That's your soul mission asking to be set free. So let's talk for a minute about what gets in the way of that. You might want to follow the call of your soul, but something in you keeps holding back. Why? Here's what I noticed once I started doing this deeper work, both in myself and with my clients. The biggest blocks aren't strategy, clarity, or even confidence. That's there for a lot of people, but the biggest blocks is the subtle, invisible loyalty to who we used to be. Who we used to be. When your soul starts whispering that something new is trying to come through, the mind pops into self-protection mode. It says things like, I should be grateful for what I have, and this is fine, don't mess it up. Or maybe I just need a break, not a whole new direction. Or here's a nasty one, because I work with a lot of women who are more mature, and sometimes sometimes people in their 30s and 40s say it's too late to start over. People my age, well, not this part maybe, but people my age are trying to slow down, not reinvent themselves, not build a whole new business. I used to say those same things to myself. Those scripts they keep us stuck in the doing mode, because doing provides positive benefits at the same time as it has negative consequences. It can provide self-worth, validation, short-term safety, but all the while it's hiding from us the deeper signal that we are being called to evolve. So I wanted to also share with you a quick way to discover your biggest block. Pick something that sets your heart racing, an idea you've had that excites you, but also scares you. That fear is actually a really good sign that it's your soul mission, by the way. Imagine just making a decision, I'm gonna do this now. And notice the first thought that rushes in. That immediate objection is often your biggest subconscious block. I guarantee fear is going to rise up and tell you all kinds of scare tactics to block you. I mean, it's normal to worry. What if I ruin everything? What if I follow this new path and it all falls apart? Or worse, what if I was never really being called to this in the first place? Because the truth is, when you've built something that works, a business, a following, a reputation, the idea of changing it feels like a massive risk. And it kind of is a secret fear in a way that maybe our success was just luck or a fluke, or maybe it's just plain hard work and sweat and not the magic of our soul. But here's what I've learned. If you ignore the call of your soul, it turns into exhaustion, confusion, depression, anxiety, even resentment towards your work or your clients. But if you listen, if you allow yourself to follow that relentless hum of truth, your next level of purpose starts to reveal itself piece by piece. The problem isn't actually fear of change. It's forgetting that change is the spiritual path. Your mission doesn't stand still because your soul doesn't. That's why I say that living your mission is your advanced spiritual practice. It's where you stop talking about spirituality and start embodying it in your choices, in your offers, your leadership, your sales. I mean, everything. That's what this moment in the journey is really all about. Not just for you, I think, but for the whole planet. Learning to trust the evolution. Not only that, but to trust the divine, to trust the unknown. That is a sacred initiation. That's where spiritual maturity really starts to happen. And this sacred initiation leads you to your next level of purpose and prosperity. And the thing that really scares us is this fear that we'll have to burn it all down and start over. But when I finally stopped resisting, what I heard surprised me. What I was actually told was, don't burn it all down. Don't rip it all up and start over. Take what's true and bring it forward. What's the expanded version or the next level of what you're already doing? If you're on your soul mission already, that's usually what will happen. It doesn't need to start over. It just needs the next level. And again, that's the same current that's been flowing through your whole life and your core work, but it needs a wider riverbed now, like a wider container to contain the mission, because it starts to feel too small, because you've become someone bigger than that, or because you need to. And for me, that realization changed everything I was doing. I thought I was being called away from my spiritual work, but what I learned was that the form needed to change, not the essence. In practical terms, that meant taking my audience to their next level of spiritual development. Beyond teaching spirituality, I'm now helping people live their spirituality by finding and living their soul mission. And together we make a huge difference in the world. That deeper purpose was the same thread that had always been there. I just couldn't see it clearly at first. So if you're in that in-between place right now, half grieving what's ending, half terrified of what's next, and those are the same half, and half thrilled and excited about what might be coming, that in-between place can be very unpleasant, difficult, scary, but I want you to know something. This is an awesome moment. You are recalibrating. This is the moment where your outer world finally gets to catch up to your inner truth, your inner power, your inner knowing. Now, before we go on to the practice I promised you, I want to talk for a moment about what happens usually after you start listening to your intuition again. You'll probably hit this part of the journey, and nobody likes it, where you feel adrift. You feel lost and confused because you're not who you were, but you're not quite sure who you're becoming either. You don't want to go the old way anymore, but you can't see the path ahead of you yet. This is what I call the pool of uncertainty. It's that foggy, mucky, disorienting middle space where your old life doesn't fit, but the new vision hasn't really formed. And you're caught in this tension of wanting clarity without having it and wishing you could avoid the awful pain of not knowing. The ego hates this part. And I'll warn you, it will try to scramble out, grab any old certainty just to stop the feeling of free fall. But I want to share a powerful truth with you that I learned the hard way. The pool of uncertainty is also the pool of all possibilities. It's where every new timeline, every new expression of your soul, every new possibility is simmering and shimmering just beneath the surface, waiting for you to stop thrashing around and stirring up the water long enough to see it. So if you're in that space right now, if you feel like you're stuck and floating between worlds or paths, don't rush to fix that feeling. Just breathe. Let the pool hold you. Let it work its magic. That's where your next steps, your next calling starts to take shape. And while you're there, here's a spiritual question that you can keep asking yourself at this stage. It's very powerful. What feels most alive in me right now? Not before, not what you imagine might in the future, right now. What feels most alive in me right now? And then the spiritual discipline is having the courage to accept that answer, even if it means stepping into the unknown and taking your first steps. The challenge is when your identity gets wrapped around the role you've been playing, the teacher, the healer, the one who helps others, whatever it might be, it's easy to lose track of your own inner guidance. And when you finally do hear it, it can sound like a threat to everything you've done so far, everything you've built. So if you can't tell if that whisper in your belly is just intuition, not just intuition, but if it is your intuition or if it's only fear trying to disguise itself as wisdom. I mean, often for me and most of the women I work with, we've been so busy meeting everyone else's needs, like showing up for our clients and managing the business as a whole and tending to our home and our family, as somewhere along the line, our own truth kind of just slips out of reach. We're just trying to keep all the plates spinning, right? We're basically pouring ourselves out faster than we can refill. It's like drowning in duty. That is not sustainable, it is not healthy, and it's not good for anybody. And little by little, our own desires get quieter, get muffled, until one day we realize we don't even know what we want anymore. So I want to share a simple practice that can help you reconnect with your intuition. It's something you can do right now or tonight before bed. So let's pause, take a few slow breaths, breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let that breath fill your whole body, your whole being, expanding your energy field all the way out as you inhale and then relaxing and letting it come back in. And as you breathe, let your shoulders drop. Let your body know it's safe to feel again. Let the tension go. Let your mind relax for a moment. And then bring to mind something that you're uncertain about. A decision, a direction, maybe even a person or a project. And ask yourself these 5 questions. 1, what does my soul want here? 2, what is my soul asking me to stop pretending about? 3, what is the next evolution, the next level for me and my clients? 4, what would I create if I absolutely knew I was divinely supported no matter what? And 5, use this question I shared earlier. What is the divine asking from me now? Not the world, not your ego, not your parents or your kids or whatever. What is the divine asking from me now? And then listen. Not for words necessarily, but for that felt sense that rises in your body. It can come as an image, it can come as a memory, it can come as a smell, it can come as anything. And it might just be a quick little split-second fragment, but try to catch that, because that first flash is the truest flash. And if your breath expands, if you feel a hint of softness or curiosity or energy in your body, that's intuition. If your chest tightens, your stomach clenches, or you start suddenly arguing with yourself, that's fear or conditioning. Contraction, warmth, tears, calm, your body will answer before your mind even knows. So the more you practice feeling the difference, the clearer it becomes. And here's the secret. Your intuition doesn't ever talk in the language of fear. It doesn't demean. It doesn't argue. It just is. Steady, simple, quiet. Try it tonight. This is one of the simplest ways to rebuild that connection with your soul and learn to trust your intuition again. Depending on how swamped your inner voice has become, you'll probably need to revisit this practice daily, at least for a week or more. Write down what your body says before your mind starts editing it, and you'll start to notice a pattern. Your soul is always speaking to you. It's just waiting for you to make enough space to hear it. So, let's bring this full circle. You might have started this video wondering why, even though you've built something great, it doesn't feel like it fits you anymore. Maybe it doesn't feel meaningful anymore. Why something that once felt so right now feels so wrong, maybe so heavy, too small. Or why what used to flow easily suddenly feels like you're wading through heavy muck to get anywhere. And now you know that discomfort isn't a sign that you've lost your way. It's your soul letting you know that you've grown. So if you've been feeling restless in your purpose or your business lately, this might be what's really happening. Here's what we need to remember. Your mission is alive. It evolves as you do, and you evolve as your mission does. It's a two-way flow. And it's not about abandoning what came before. It's about letting the form of your work open up wide enough to reflect the new fullness of who you've become. When you say yes to that evolution, when you stop fighting the unknown and start listening and following what next, you step into co-creation with the divine. That is advanced spirituality, and that is, in fact, stepping into a miracle way of living. Knowing your soul mission is never a single moment of revelation. It's an ongoing conversation with the divine. So every time you say yes to what's true for you now, not what was true for you 5 years ago or last week, you are deepening that inner dialogue. And you are expanding how you live your spirituality, moment by moment, choice by choice. That's sacred work. Try it. I'm confident that you too will discover that running your business can become your greatest spiritual practice for your soul's evolution. If any of this spoke to you, or it's something you're feeling or going through, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me what your mission feels like it's shifting from or it's shifting into. And you might want to share what you dream it could be. Because when one of us says yes to our soul mission, we are all uplifted. It's coming through you for a reason. You're here for a reason. I hope you subscribe and stay with me because we've got a lot of great stuff to get you on your right path, thriving in your soul mission based business. Take care. I'll see you soon.